Saying the problem could be as fundamental as the design of the plane. The Federal Aviation Administration today grounded the DC-10. It's the fourth time in a week the plane has been set down, but this time the agency said the grounding will stay in effect until the problem is found, analyzed, and cured. We have two reports, beginning with Richard Roth in Washington.
The FAA directive grounded all 138 U.S. registered DC-10s. Any jet already in the air was grounded at its next scheduled stop. A companion order will bar foreign DC-10s from U.S. airspace. An FAA spokesman said the only flights now permitted are those to ferry the wide bodies to repair facilities without passengers. The cracks were discovered during FAA-mandated inspections of engine mountings at the point the engine support or pylon joins the wing. Pointing to a model of the pylon, an FAA official said it was clear the cracks were serious.
The damage on the airplanes last night was right along this flange underneath the front part of this aft bulkhead. One crack was about 2 inches along this flange under here, and it expanded to 4 inches. Another one was about 3 inches.
Serious also, said FAA Administrator Bond, was the realization no one knew what caused the cracks. Grounding the planes, he said, was the only decision he could make.
The consequences of this decision are very grave. It will affect some carriers very strongly, affect the manufacturer, and will affect the American traveling public. It is a very weighty and significant and costly decision, and I did not come by it lightly. But there was no doubt in my mind this morning, last night, that there was no alternative to taking it.
Although the discovery of the cracks had occurred while FAA lawyers last night were resisting a judge's order to ground the planes, Bond said the agency had acted responsibly, moving quickly and abandoning its court fight once the facts were known. He denied the agency's actions over the past 8 days. 4 different grounding orders have been erratic.
I think that the FAA's response has been correct based on the information that was available to us, and I don't know what else to act on.
With its latest grounding order, the FAA is for the first time officially questioning the basic design of the DC-10. Asked if that means the jets would be grounded for a long time, Administrator Bond said he didn't know. Asked if it means the jets would be down for at least a week, he said, I would speculate at least that. Richard Roth, CBS News, Washington.
The latest grounding of all DC-10s flown by U.S. carriers came after a tiny crack was found in the engine pylon mounts of this American Airlines jet, and after a similar crack was found on this jet, both of which are grounded in San Francisco. FAA inspectors and American Airlines mechanics were checking the planes today. The cracks were barely visible to the naked eye, but were confirmed by painting red dye over the suspect area. The crack then showed up as a tiny red scratch. A spokesman for the airline said that while American agrees that the 2 planes should be grounded, they still believe the DC-10 is totally safe.
We're conducting intensive inspections on this, and our position has been it's a safe aircraft to fly. That's why we've been flying them.
Meanwhile, in Long Beach, California, where McDonnell Douglas makes the DC-10, a spokesman for the company says today's FAA action is more drastic than circumstances warrant.
Suspension of the DC-10 type certificate by the FAA is an extreme, an unwarranted act in the light of salient facts that have emerged during the investigation into the probable cause of the tragic accident at O'Hare Airport on May 25th.
And the spokesman for McDonnell Douglas emphasized that the recent problems with the DC-10 have involved only one series of aircraft, the DC-10 Series 10, and they account for only 110 of the company's 275 wide-body jetliners. The company says it is exploring every legal avenue, including the possibility of going to court to reverse the FAA order. Bernard Goldberg, CBS News, San Francisco.
In spite of the company's comment, the FAA said today there is the possibility that the problem is not limited to one series of the DC-10, and so it is grounding all of them. The air
We're terribly sorry to inconvenience you, but your flight is going to be canceled this evening. Yes, it is, and the government has grounded all the DC-10s.
Today, there was little confusion. Most airlines were able to reschedule passengers and move in other planes to take the place of the grounded DC-10. But the DC-10 was the workhorse of the air, both here and abroad, and some airline executives openly wondered how long things could go smoothly without it.
Now, you're probably talking about 15% of the world's air transport lift are now on the ground. But it is impossible to move these passengers now.
Other airmen say problems could arise on certain routes.
Hawaii is a market that has all wide-bodied operation, some 747, but primarily DC-10. And it's the Hawaii market where you cannot reaccommodate, where you can't re-equip aircraft for overwater operation rapidly enough to take up the slack.
Continental, the grounding means it's no longer flying the Hawaii route, and World Airways is now out of coast-to-coast travel. Estimates are the cost to all DC-10 owners, such as United, American, and Northwest, will come to around $7 million a day. One line may have special problems. United has just ended a long strike, and it's been trying to win travelers back, but it also operates more DC-10s than any other line. The airlines have a massive investment in those planes, one worth about $5.4 billion. And factories simply could not turn out planes to replace the DC-10 inside of 4 years.